In the next few minutes, what you're about to learn might shock you. It might even scare you. But here's the truth. It could also change your life. Not just in a small temporary way, but in a way that lasts forever. Especially when it comes to how you connect with girls, how you carry yourself, and how you navigate the complex social world we all live in. See, there are rules, not just any rules. Real, unbreakable laws that govern attraction, communication, and relationships. These laws shape how people respond to each other, what draws them closer, and what pushes them away. Break some of these rules, and you don't just lose a chance, you risk ending up in a cold, dark place with terrible food. And trust me, that place isn't just uncomfortable, it's the place where confidence goes to die, where frustration builds, and where loneliness thrives. These are the rules everyone talks about, the obvious ones. But here's the catch. There's a second set of rules, a hidden system of unwritten laws that most guys don't even realize exist. These rules aren't on any list, they're not taught in schools, and they're not easy to spot, but they're even more powerful than the first set. Break these hidden rules, and while you won't get a ticket or end up behind bars, you'll find yourself struggling in ways you never imagined. You'll feel stuck, invisible, or constantly misread, especially by the girls you want to connect with. This hidden set of rules, it's everywhere. It's embedded deep in society, in the way conversations flow, in the subtle signals we send and receive every day. Society created this system, whether consciously or not, to keep social interactions smooth and predictable. But here's the secret. Mastering this hidden language is the key to overcoming one of the biggest challenges most guys face. The challenge of talking to girls, gaining their attention, and building real attraction. And here's where it gets interesting. To truly unlock this power, you have to understand there are two main types of communication humans use. This isn't just about what you say, it's about how you say it, why you say it, and what's really happening underneath the surface when people talk. Once you understand this, you'll see why some guys seem to effortlessly connect, while others struggle to even get a second glance. So, buckle up, because what I'm about to reveal will open your eyes to how communication really works and why most guys are missing out on the most crucial piece of the puzzle. You're about to learn the hidden code that changes everything: how to speak, how to listen, and how to be seen in a way that commands respect and attraction. This knowledge isn't just theory, it's practical, powerful, and immediately usable. Whether you're shy, inexperienced, or just tired of feeling invisible, what's coming next will give you a new edge, a new way to approach girls and social situations with confidence, clarity, and control. Get ready, because the journey to mastering this hidden language starts now. Quick break. Close your eyes for a second. Picture her, the girl you've always wanted. Feel what it would be like to actually have her. Now open your eyes, because here's the truth. Right now, you're invisible to her. You're getting outcompeted by guys with more money, better looks, higher status, and stronger game. You're playing a rigged game, and you're losing. But I've spent the last 35 years mastering this, studying, testing, and finally finding the secrets to get the girls I always wanted. You want to stop getting ignored? You want her chasing you? Then you need to wake up and act. Click the link in the comments if you are truly committed and take the first step toward becoming that guy. Few spots left. Be fast or miss out your last chance to make her yours. Let's get back to it. The first form of communication is called indirect communication. This is the primary way girls communicate, and truth be told, it's the way most people in society operate, regardless of gender. The whole idea behind indirect communication is to express something without saying it outright. It's a way of delivering a message gently, often to avoid confrontation, to be polite, or to keep things smooth without hurting someone's feelings. Think of it as a protective shield, a way to say no without actually saying no, or to hint at something without spelling it out loud. It's a social lubricant designed to keep interactions comfortable and avoid ruffling feathers. In certain situations, this form of communication is incredibly useful. It helps people navigate sensitive topics, maintain harmony in relationships, and avoid unnecessary conflict. But here's the catch. Especially when it comes to guys trying to understand girls, indirect communication can be confusing, frustrating, and sometimes downright harmful. Why? Because it leaves a lot unsaid. It forces you to read between the lines, guess the real meaning behind the words, and often leads to misunderstanding. Think back to the last time you got rejected by a girl. Maybe you asked her out, and she responded with something like, "You're really cute, but I'm just not interested." On the surface, that sounds polite, even kind. But if you listen closely, you'll realize she's avoiding a harsher truth. Most of the time, she's not going to come right out and say, "Sorry, I'm just not physically attracted to you." That would be blunt, direct, and might hurt your feelings more. Instead, she gives you what's called a soft no, a polite refusal wrapped in kindness. What she's really doing is saying no without actually saying it. The words soften the rejection, but the message is clear if you know how to listen. For many guys, this indirect style can be maddening because it feels like mixed signals. They hear the words but miss the meaning, and when you don't pick up on those subtle clues, you end up confused, frustrated, or worse, pushing where you shouldn't. To really move forward and get this right, we need to take a step back and understand where these two types of communication, indirect and direct, come from. Let's start with direct communication. Traditionally, this has been seen as a masculine style, the default way most guys used to communicate. It's clear, straightforward, and leaves little room for misunderstanding. When men spoke, they said exactly what they meant. No hidden meanings, no hints, no guessing games. On the other hand, indirect communication has traditionally been the default for most women. It's more subtle, nuanced, and often relies on context and tone rather than explicit words. It's about preserving feelings, avoiding conflict, and maintaining social harmony. But here's where things get interesting and a bit complicated. Over the last few decades, this clear-cut division has started to blur. Many men have gradually shifted toward using indirect communication more and more. Whether it's due to social conditioning, wanting to be polite, or just trying to avoid conflict, guys today often speak more like women did in the past, softening their words, asking permission, and hinting instead of stating. This shift creates problems, especially when men are trying to talk to women, or even to other men. Why? Because direct communication and indirect communication operate on completely different frequencies. When a guy speaks indirectly, especially to a woman who's used to indirect cues herself, it can get messy. Many guys get it wrong and wonder why they keep hitting dead ends. Think about this for a second. Imagine you're at a restaurant. The waitress comes over and asks if you're ready to order. A lot of guys respond with, "Yes, can I have the chicken Alfredo, please?" It sounds polite, right? But then, later, they act surprised or confused when the waitress doesn't seem attracted to them. Why is that? The problem isn't just what you say, it's how you say it. The tone, the energy, and the confidence behind your words matter way more than most guys realize. When a guy says, "Can I have the chicken Alfredo?" he's essentially asking permission. It's a soft, tentative request, like he's unsure if he's allowed to have it. That hesitation shows up in his voice and body language. When a guy speaks indirectly, like saying, "Can I have the chicken Alfredo, please?" he sounds like he's asking the waitress for permission. There's hesitation in his tone, as if he's unsure if he's even allowed to make that choice. It's subtle, but it sends a signal of uncertainty and low confidence. Now imagine the same situation again. The waitress asks, "What would you like to eat today?" But this time, instead of asking if you can have the chicken Alfredo, you respond with confidence. "Yes, I'll take the chicken Alfredo." Notice the difference? You're not asking permission. You're basically telling her you're going to have the chicken Alfredo whether she likes it or not. This might seem like a small shift in wording, but it's huge when it comes to how people perceive you. It's about owning your choice, owning your presence, and showing that you know what you want without hesitation. This is key because attraction is an impulse. It's not about logic or negotiation. Girls, and guys for that matter, have very little conscious control over it. When you speak directly and powerfully, you're pressing that little attraction button inside most women. You're tapping into something primal and automatic. Think about the character Thor from the Avengers movies. The way he talks is a perfect example of direct communication. Most of the time, he's clear, confident, and unapologetically himself, especially when dealing with women. Every word he says carries weight because he acts like everything he says matters. And here's the real secret. Simply believing that every word you say is important actually makes it important. It changes your energy, your tone, and how others perceive you. That's the power of direct communication. It's not just what you say, but how you own what you say that makes the difference. It creates attraction because it shows strength, clarity, and confidence. This style of direct, powerful communication is the complete opposite of how most girls speak, and that's exactly why it's the most magnetic and attractive way you can talk around them. When you come in with clarity, confidence, and purpose in your words, you immediately stand out from the crowd. It's not just what you say, but how you say it, the tone, the delivery, the energy behind your voice. That makes all the difference. This isn't about being rude or arrogant, it's about owning your space, showing leadership, and speaking with conviction. And that kind of energy, it naturally pulls people in. But the perks of mastering this kind of communication don't stop with just attracting women. Speaking directly and powerfully also earns you respect from other men, especially those who are more comfortable with indirect communication. Think about it. In social settings, men who speak clearly and confidently tend to lead conversations and command attention. They get taken seriously because their words carry weight. When you consistently express yourself in a straightforward way, you build credibility and influence. Imagine this. You're at the movies with a girl and she suddenly says, "Brr, it's cold in here." On the surface, that's just a casual remark about the temperature, but what she's really doing is indirectly hinting at you to offer her your jacket. She's not coming out and saying, "Can I have your jacket?" Because indirect communication is designed to avoid sounding demanding or vulnerable. It's a subtle way of testing the waters to see if you'll step up without putting herself in an uncomfortable position. Here's where it gets interesting. Direct communication is inherently masculine, like a warrior's straightforward command, while indirect communication is feminine, designed to protect and preserve harmony. And here's a critical truth. The more feminine a man comes across in his communication style, the less attraction most women will feel toward him. Now, of course, there are exceptions. Some women who lean more masculine in their personality or style might respond differently, but as a general rule, women evolved to be more cautious and avoid direct conflict. That's why indirect communication is their default mode. It's about safety, subtlety, and emotional protection. That doesn't mean you can't flirt using indirect hints and playful cues. It definitely happens, and it can be fun. But your primary mode of communication with women should be direct, clear, and purposeful. This shows you're confident, decisive, and comfortable in your own skin. It means you're not afraid to lead the interaction and express your desires openly. Here's the kicker. Many guys don't realize that women actually want men to communicate like this. They want you to be straightforward because it cuts through the noise, the mixed signals, and the endless guessing games that come with indirect communication. But most men don't do it. They mimic the indirect, roundabout way women talk, and that's a big reason why they struggle to create real connection and attraction. When you break out of that pattern and embrace direct communication, you instantly become more appealing because you bring clarity. Guys who master direct communication often stand out because it's one of the defining traits of a dominant male. It's one of the most powerful ways to demonstrate confidence and assertiveness, not just when talking to girls, but in every social interaction, including with other men. The key to speaking directly is optimism in your delivery. In other words, your tone should sound like you are 100% confident that the other person will agree with or comply with what you say. When you carry positive expectations going into any situation, you dramatically increase the chances of that situation working in your favor. Conversely, negative expectations often become self-fulfilling prophecies. A perfect example of direct communication is saying, "I want you to go to the dance with me tonight," instead of, Will you go to the dance with me? Asking a girl out in a direct way might sound a little too bold for a romantic comedy, but in real life, it's far more effective. The truth is, being clear, assertive, and confident will always serve you better than sounding hesitant or unsure. To start speaking in this direct, attractive way, try beginning your requests or statements with I and focus on making more statements than questions. When you speak as if what you're saying is a fact, it shows that you have the confidence and courage to stand your ground, even when others might disagree or disapprove. This kind of bravery in communication is magnetic. Many guys today fall into indirect communication because of an unspoken rule that being polite means being tentative or soft. But the reality is that often the most polite way to talk is also the least attractive way for a man to communicate. Politeness that comes across as uncertainty or weakness tends to reduce respect and attraction. Talking is something we do all day, every day, so the sooner you can start speaking like a warrior, the sooner people, both girls and guys, will recognize you as one. If you've spent most of your life speaking indirectly and without power, then yes, it's going to feel strange and uncomfortable when you start practicing this new way of talking. It's just like learning to ride a bike. At first it feels foreign and awkward, but that discomfort means you're growing. When you watch a big movie in the theater, you only see the final polished product. What you don't see are the countless takes, mistakes, and repetitions it took to get there. Similarly, girls don't care if you were once shy or insecure. Just like you might still be attracted to a girl who used to be overweight but is now healthy and confident, what matters most is who you are right now and who you're willing to become. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If this message spoke to you or gave you something to think about, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new drop. I've got more real talk, more growth, and more power coming your way. So stay locked in. And if you're going through something right now, just remember, your silence can say more than 1,000 words ever could. Take care of yourself, keep rising, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.